Hey, fatty! Food is not the cause of the obesity epidemic, you fat pig. It never was. It never was. The root cause of the obesity epidemic, as it's gotten worse and worse and worse, is screen time. Screen time in all of its forms. Not all screen time's created equally. Okay? Screen time can be crazy addictive now. Where back in like the 1960s, you had like some normal TV ads. You only had so many things to watch before it was just reruns. You would still get bored of that and go do shit outside. You couldn't use the internet like you can now via screens to do all these little tasks that you would have been doing before, like going to the grocery store and getting groceries. Okay, like going to the store and actually buying your shit instead of just getting it on Amazon. You know how fat this makes people? Well, they don't even have to go to the grocery store or go to a store to buy whatever they're going to buy. Screen time. How it destroys your self-esteem because of social media. Comparing yourself to all this bullshit you see. If you did a study that showed screen time versus weight, the fattest people on the planet would have the highest screen time. You want to talk about living in a matrix? Some of these fat pigs, let's say you even slept for 8 hours a day. Most of you wouldn't even sleep that long. Your sleep is shit. 5-6 hours a day. Some of these people literally would have like 18 hours of screen time. They're truly living in the matrix. The screen time is insane. You can prove it. Just take the screens completely away from children so they have no screen time, period. Period. And let them eat whatever the hell they want. They'll be skinny as a rail. They'll be skinny as a rail. The food would have nothing to do with it. It's the screen time that makes the kids fat. The kids are very connected to nature. If you take the screens away and they just ate whatever the hell you gave them, they're going to be skinny as a rail. Because they're never going to sit in one spot. It's the same with the adults. If you remember that movie, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, remember how fat people, like super fatties that I helped, didn't even exist. Now they're everywhere. Like you'd rarely see somebody that's 500 pounds in like 1980. All right? And that's when people started getting fatter. Cable TV. We didn't have internet yet, but people would be sitting on their ass watching cable TV. Okay, we had the big satellite dishes that people could get. That woman on What's Eating Gilbert Grape, the mom, she's fat as hell. What was she doing all day? Watching TV. If that TV would have been taken away from her, she would have been so bored out of her skull, she would have started moving and doing shit and lost all the weight. It's screen time. People are bickering and bantering over food and all the shit that's in the food, blah, 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 blah. That has nothing to do with morbid obesity. It's your fucking screen time. No one wants to admit that. God forbid you shut your phone off for a week. Okay, now before, you still had to be in your house to piss around on the internet. Like 1991, the internet went online to the public. Okay, then you have people that were talking to people, God knows, living all over the world via internet now. Okay, but you still had to be on the home computer. You couldn't just take the screen out of your house at high speed like with these smartphones. It's gotten worse and worse and worse. So the screen time would have been limited then still because you had to be at home to use it. Now it can be basically unlimited. The fatter you are, I guarantee the higher your screen time is. So what do you do to pull back on that screen time? Number one, all the tasks that you can do without the screen, like going and actually buying groceries or going to buy things at regular stores and give business to local stores, that stuff will make you get out of the house. Instead of just buying shit on Amazon, like all you idiots. Instead of just getting food delivered by Uber Eats. Okay? Pornography. Now you can just watch porn without any judgment. Gross addiction. Compared to the old days, you still have to go into the store and actually buy the magazines and face some judgment. Plus, those magazines weren't even close to as hooking as what you have on the internet now for pornography. It's disgustingly gross. Social media makes people have no self-esteem whatsoever. Okay, it's all just completely fake. This is why the suicide rate's so high with young girls now, which didn't even exist in the past. Because there is no actual safe space anymore at home because people can still contact these people or bully them over their phone at home when they're home from school. It all comes back to the screens. All of it. Okay, people don't want to admit that. Okay, even maybe you have an in-home job. You know how many fat women I helped that have their in-home working job where they use the computer all day? They're like bragging about it because that's what humans do. They always look for the easy path. They're bragging about it, yet they're getting fat as hell because they don't have to go to a job where they actually got to dress up. They really actually got to dress up, maybe put on a pair of jeans. That's a whole nother discussion. The clothing's so stretchy now. Back in the day, the fabric, you couldn't even stretch it. So people had to wear clothes that wouldn't just stretch into shape, fat pegs. The screen time, you can see the trend. You can see the trend when people really started blowing up the tech. Okay, it had nothing to do with the fucking phone. Okay, like I said, you can prove it with children. You just take away the screens and every kid will be ripped. It's no different with the adults. Okay, because you don't leverage boredom. You just run to your screen instead of taking action. That screen keeps you stationary. That's way worse than any food choice. Even the dirty food choices you would make, you're just not going to eat that much. You're just going to be busy. Nobody eats in silence. You're always eating when you're fucking around on the screens. Okay, that's the problem. Even in the old days, like in the 70s, you had to go to the theater to watch movies still. You couldn't just get VHS tapes. So you couldn't just get VHS. You had to go to the theaters to watch, like, porn. And that was a pretty new thing. Triple X theaters, like, in the 70s. So now you're in there, and then there's judgment as well. Like, and then you're out in public. Naturally, you got to look better. You got to leave the house. You get fat in the home. And the screens and the internet is so smart and fast now you never have to leave your house. It always comes back to screen time. And the screen time has just got more and more addictive since the advent of the internet. You could talk all day about this, but I'm just simplifying it by telling you. You need to be aware that the problem you have while you're a fat pig, number one thing you need to cut out is screen time. In all its forms. All its forms, social media, dating sites, porn addiction, all of it, video games. Now that's all hooked onto the internet. That's not like playing Super Nintendo or Nintendo back in the day. Okay, that can become a social thing as well because you got people talking to other people from God knows where. Okay, you got men and women hitting on each other playing the video games and shit. That's become almost dating sites. This is why parents that are giving their kids cell phones are idiots. Complete idiots. Okay, it's the worst thing in the world. I would rather have no fat people in the world and not be able to make any money doing what I do now. Okay, if somebody told me, okay, Cole, tomorrow there's going to be no more internet. Just cut it right out, blackout. But that'll cost you everything you got, Cole, financially. I'd be like, done. Do it. Until next time, stop squabbling over the food. The biggest problem you have is your fucking screen time, you fat pig. Get the screen time as low as humanly possible. And that will mean that you're definitely finding other purpose in life. And you'll see body fat melt like crazy without even thinking about it, you fat pig.